bit late. It means you're stuck with me, which probably means you're going to learn something. Anyway.
Hey, I heard that, Wesley. I told you not to turn the camera on. What are you doing here? Okay, we're back. In our last episode, we got the steering mechanism installed. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but we had some issues when we were going down the hill with brakes, yeah, stopping. So we got to figure out a way to stop this thing. That's what we're going to do today. Let's get on it. Here we go.
Yes, sir.
So when it comes to braking something like this, there's a couple ways we can go about it. One way is to try to figure out some way to stop these wheels from moving. And that's kind of like what you would do on a bike or the brake in your car, right? Mm-hmm. In your car, you'd have disc brakes where you have calipers that grab onto the discs and stop the wheels from moving.
And you have rubber pads, and then you have the...
Yeah, you have like a rubber pads on your bike right there, or you'd have drum brakes in the back of your car. Well, we're going to do something that's a little bit more primitive and I think a little bit easier. But the cool thing about it is you're going to have a foot pedal. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut out a flap in the floor here. That flap is going to hinge and you're going to push down on that flap, and the friction of the flap actually touching the ground is going to slow you down, theoretically. Right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Okay, buddy, before we locate where our pedal is actually going to go, we need to figure out how far this way we're going to cut, because we need to know how long the pedal needs to be to hinge. So what we need to do is measure from the floor down to about the top. And what do we got? Where are we at there, Wes?
We're about 7 5/16.
About 7 5/16 or so. So we know that our pedal needs to go this way, or needs to be at least 7 5/16 for it to go all the way down and touch the ground. And obviously we want it to be bigger than that. You know what? Let's draw a picture of this so we're sure we're doing it right. If we put our hinge like this, and it has to go like that, that means we have to push our foot like that, which is going to be really hard. So the longer this pedal is, I think the easier it's going to be to push down. Yeah, so as you can see, we've got our supports underneath here, and that's going to create a little bit of a problem. We want to make sure that our brake doesn't hit those supports. So what we're going to do right now
is drill through right here so we know our boundaries.
Exactly, yeah, we're going to drill through so we know our boundaries. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to drill a hole that shows us about where the front of our chariot is. Tell me when it comes through. We use the cordless drill to mark out the location of our stiffeners under the car. Then we drew a line from hole to hole and extended this line to where we wanted our foot pedal to be located. After we had the basic location of the foot pedal, we came back with a circular saw. This is the same saw that we use in our track saw in the classroom, but it doesn't have a track on it. Once most of the lines were cut out with a circular saw, we then came back later with a jigsaw and finished all the cuts with the jigsaw. Finally, we used a handsaw to finish off the last few corners. Okay, so we got our brake pedal here. Yep, which needs to get hinged from here. And what I was thinking, it would be cool too, let's put a longer piece of wood on here with some rubber on it. That way you have more braking surface to stop, so you can stop more quickly. Sound good? Cool. We tacked our hinges in place with a few screws. And after we had the hinges screwed down in a couple places, we then went back with nuts and bolts and attached nuts, bolts, and washers onto the hinges. We really wanted to make sure these hinges were firmly attached because we didn't want our braking flap to come off while we were trying to stop the Soapbox car. Once our flap was securely fastened, we then took a piece of hard maple and glued and screwed it onto the edge of the flap. The purpose of doing this was to provide more braking surface. So we've got the Soapbox car flipped upside down right now, and we've installed our friction brake here. With a nice piece of maple hardwood, we'll come back and attach a piece of rubber to this later that will act as a good brake. But I've got to admit, I'm a little bit baffled here because we have this hinged And this is always going to want to drag on the ground like that. So I don't really know what to do.
Got it.
You got this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's your idea?
We drill a hole right here.
Drill a hole here,
We drill a hole right here.
drill a hole there.
We take bungee cord and we tie a knot right
Bungee
here. And
Okay.
then we tie another knot right here so it won't slip through the holes.
And the bungee cord will flex.
Yeah, so it won't put too much strain. It also won't all the way do this.
And it'll stay kind of
yeah.
locked in place.
Yeah, just kind of like that. And then it'll just flip back up.
It's a good idea, Wes. One problem. Where are we going to find the bungee cord?
Right here.
What?
Mm-hmm.
To implement Lehman Jr.'s bungee cord idea, we drilled a few 1/4-inch holes in the bottom of the brake and also the bottom of the car, and then tied knots in the bungee cord at the appropriate length so that we could push the brake all the way down to the bottom of the ground. Think, Wes? All right.
Speechless.
Speechless.
Amazing.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.